Hey, what's going on? So, I just finished up my little cardio for today and just some thoughts while I was getting my training in is all these, I don't know what you call them, whether they're influencers or whatever on social media, but let me give you a couple tips here. Is if you go back and you look at the history of training and you look at the history of people who don't just have the most impressive physiques, but they're some of the strongest people. They lead good quality, healthy lives. They don't get too far removed from doing variations of squatting, deadlifting, pressing, pulling, push ups, chin ups of all different types, and all sorts of carries. Um, Outside of that, that's really the basis of their training. Um, Regardless of their goals that they're chasing, in some capacity. But what's been getting popular recently is more of these influencer folks trying to come up with these very obscure variations and laughable movements, I guess. I don't know, exercises. I have no idea what you call them here. But anyway, they get more and more odd as the weeks progress. Um, you see somebody jumping on a Bosu ball with one leg while holding little shake weights with beads in them or something, and then you see another guy grabbing bands and hooking bands up to cable attachments, and like it's just weird, you know. And here's what these people fail to tell you, and if they do say it, they don't say it often enough. Um, their successes that they've had, or the performance that they've achieved, or the aesthetics that they have, are all rooted in good, sound strength and conditioning variations and programming that was done 20 years ago, right? You didn't see all the stuff that they were doing for the past 20 years. Now all they're highlighting and pushing is these obscure movements, and they're trying to manipulate and sell the general public on, well, hey, contact me for this so I can give you the secret sauce, the special stuff of, you couldn't possibly figure this out on your own. And that's just not the case. If they were being honest, they would be forthright in saying, you know what, the majority of my training is built on snatches, cleans, jerks, push presses, bench, row, chins, push-ups, squats, deads. That's about it, right? And some carries. But they're not. They feel they continue to leave that stuff out. Now, with all that being said, when it comes to training, as you advance in training age, so training age and biological age are different. The need for variation, the necessity of variation, um, becomes more of a factor. That does not mean that it has to be all this wacky, obscure stuff. It just means that, you're at the most elite level. Athletes have probably exhausted certain movements in certain capacities. So now they need to spice things up a little bit in order to elicit a new response or a new adaptation from the body. So anyway, I just caution you as you're perusing social media and you're looking at this stuff, just be very careful about who you follow, and ask yourself, is this logical? Is this rooted in the fundamentals? Or is this just some obscure thing, right? And as you pursue strength and you start to get more in the weeds and you start to figure out like who's full of shit and who's not. But yeah, go back, start reading up on some of the history of some of this stuff. It's really interesting. And look at what a lot of these folks have in common. So yeah, anyway, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, or you need resources or whatever, you can always comment below, DM me directly, and I'll be happy to point you in the direction. But just top of mind, some folks I would refer you to kind of get a better contextual understanding background is Dr. Terry Todd and I think Dr. Jan Todd. I'm not 100% positive on that second one, but there's a really interesting book a guy gave me a couple years back, something along the lines of the history and strength training in America or something like that. And anyway, it's a great read. And then Strongman Archaeology with James Fuller. The guy's awesome. I mean, he's happy to answer questions. He has a great understanding, and I continue to learn from him all the time as far as, you know, what's happening in strength and conditioning. How long has this stuff been happening? You know, like, and he'll tell you exactly, you know, where it was first found. Here's this exercise, and here's why they did it, and blah blah blah. And it's great. So check out Strongman Archaeology, and that's all that come to mind right now. But yeah, the better understanding you have of the history, then you start to work your way, you know, starting in the history of the 1800s or whatever, and you work your way forwards, then a lot of this stuff starts to make more sense. So anyway, hope you have a good day. Effective training is the best training. You don't need to do all this wacky stuff that you see. So anyway, if you've got questions, let me know.